JC, my name is Robert Clark, Supervisory Deputy, U.S. Marshal, Warrant Supervisor for the Eastern Pennsylvania Violent Crimes Fugitive Task Force. This morning, at approximately 8:30 a.m., the 10-day manhunt for Ameen Hurst came to an end. After an aggressive night of negotiations with family members, after missed deadlines time and time again over the past 18 hours, an enforcement action was taken. Ameen Hurst was arrested in the 6100 block of Washington Avenue by members of our fugitive task force here without incident. We had set surveillance teams up after another missed deadline this morning for Hurst to turn himself in had come and gone. Our surveillance team observed who they believed was Hurst and two other family members get into a vehicle, and at that point, a vehicle containment was conducted. Hurst was extracted out of the vehicle, positively identified, and taken into custody again without incident. The arrest of Hurst concludes the 10-day manhunt for Nasir Grant and Ameen Hurst, in which two other individuals were arrested by the Marshal Service. It should be noted that in all four arrests, no force was used. There was no incidents. Our task force worked tirelessly for the past 10 days, 16 hours a day. We sorted through dozens and dozens of tips and exerted hundreds of man-hours. The arrest couldn't have come without the help of the media, the public, and the tireless efforts of the investigators here at our Fugitive Task Force, the incredible effort of Northeast detectives, and the efforts of the District Attorney's Office, who also supported us.
Deputy Clark, was anyone else taken into custody with Ameen Hurst?
His brother was taken in custody as well. Whether I don't know what the investigative process is, if he's been charged yet, but I know he was taken in for questioning. He was investigatively detained.
You had mentioned that this had been days in the making. You had been in contact with family members. What are those negotiations like? I mean, you might not be able to get into specifics, but
Sure.
How you work with people to have a positive resolution, and how obviously you had to
Sure.
go and get them.
Well, we were contacted by a member of the family about 11 o'clock last evening. Or I'm sorry, it was earlier than 11. It was maybe early in the evening, 8 o'clock. And a deadline was set for approximately midnight. That deadline came and went. Minor communication was conducted between our investigator and that family member, and another deadline had passed early in the morning. And then another deadline had passed right before sunrise. And at that point, I decided we need to get our investigators back on the street. We didn't know if this was a stall tactic, but we had certain locations we believed Hurst was hiding. So we had put surveillance teams on those locations, and unfortunately for him and fortunately for us, he came out of one of them, got in a vehicle, we were able to contain that vehicle and arrest him without incident.
Can you tell us at all what the significance of the 6100 block of Washington is?
To be honest, we don't know right now. We just know we had a residence of interest. We thought there was a good possibility he was going to be there, and that's why you see these individuals behind me who were all there for the arrest. They helped us execute that warrant.
Do you think his family, was his family trying to get him away? Is that your belief?
So after the negotiations failed and 3 deadlines were missed, we weren't sure what the mind frame of the family was. We didn't want to give them the benefit of the doubt and lose a residence he was possibly in. So at that time, we decided to disperse on certain locations, and this one ended up panning out. You may hear from the family that they were on the way to turn himself in. We hear that a lot, but we just weren't willing to take that chance. If we had the opportunity to take him down on the street, we were going to, and it's not without good cause. There were 3 deadlines that came and went, 3 deadlines, and when the sun came up, that was it. We had to press forward with our investigation, and if we could end it this morning, we wanted to end it, and we did.
This is someone that you said repeatedly is armed and believed to be armed and dangerous, accused of 4 murders. For this to end in a way where nobody else was hurt, can you kind of comment on that?
You know, it's just a credit to our task force, the way that we train, the way that we conduct surveillance, the way we conduct our investigative operations, our vehicle operations. It's just a credit to the guys you see behind me, the way that we can execute arrests. And you'll hear it time and time again. Nobody got hurt. All the arrests were made without incident, and that's the way we like it. I want to make sure the guys behind me go home to their families at the end of the night. And sometimes if that means guys get away for a day or 2, then that's what happens, but not in this case.
We also know that 2 other people were arrested by marshals. 1 other woman was also taken into custody. These are people who aid fugitives, and we talked about this earlier when this first happened. If you're helping, you are in it now too.
Correct. And perhaps that's why the brother was investigatively detained. I don't know. That's for Northeast detectives to figure out, but you're absolutely right. 2 other individuals, a male and a female, were arrested during the course of this investigation. And we had said before, if you had helped during the escape and you were found culpable in aiding his flight or obstructing justice, warrants were going to be issued. Nobody was playing. The Philadelphia Police Department, Northeast Detectives, the District Attorney's Office, and the U.S. Marshals, we were all on the same page. We were going to do whatever we had to bring these 2 individuals, and I couldn't be prouder that we did it in 10 days.
Do you feel that the family member that called last night or who you was with today, were they harboring him? I mean, again, they would...
Well, I guess there's a fine line between harboring and trying to negotiate a surrender, but once again, I state we had 3 deadlines, and we were in constant communication, and they significantly missed those deadlines. There was minor communication, and at some point we had to say, let's put our guys back out on the street because we think we had a chance to end this morning.
One last question
Sure.
from me, and it's a little bit candid, so forgive me, but were you surprised these guys were in Philly, Chester County? I mean, like, everybody stayed local, even with that 17 to 18-hour advance that they had on the guards who didn't know they were missing.
Correct. Well, I am surprised. But I can tell you that our fugitive investigation here took us to 3 states. It took us, obviously, here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It took us down to Delaware, and it took us up to New York. So we had credible tips in all 3 places, but ultimately, we were able to uncover the hiding spots here in Philadelphia.